Hello to everybody. It's an honor for me to join this fifth conference, Ethic and Digitalization. And firstly, I would like to thank Dr. Clara Mavellia for inviting me to speak and for giving me the opportunity to be with all of you. Well, the question, how does digitalization enhance educational processes in higher music education, could appear in a certain way rhetorical and provocative at the same time. This because in Italy, as well as all over the world, higher music education institutions are called, or have been called, conservatories, from the Italian word conservatorio, such a place where something is preserved without changes. Now we know that every rhetorical statement and every provocation can prompt us to reflect on some element of consistency, at least of truth, even if hidden, which is contained. For this reason, I will accept this conservative purpose of our higher music education institution to include this aim in our discourse on the digitalization. I have identified three aspects of improvement which, in my opinion, respond to the ethical vision of the digitalization. To preserve book assets, to dematerialize in learning, teaching, as well as in administrative procedures, to improve creativity. The first aspect, to preserve and protect book assets. In Europe, and especially in Italy, the most important manuscripts and autographs of world musical heritage are kept in conservatories' libraries. In addition to focusing primarily on music and other documentary works, these libraries are increasingly engaging in a broader range of tangible and intangible heritage of the library and archive expression. In Italy, just to give an example, think about our heritage of the library and archive of the San Pietro Maiella Conservatory and the Santa Cecilia Conservatory Library too. As part of the rich collection of the San Pietro Maiella Conservatory in Naples, important collections of autographs, cantatas, and opera arias have been digitalized. Entire collection of composers such as Cimarosa, Paisiello, Pergolesi, and the autograph scores of composers including Bellini, Donizetti, Rossini, and Verdi. And just to give an example of the consistency of the library of Santa Cecilia Conservatory in Rome, 300,000 books, including 8 incunabulas, 312 editions of the 16th century, 10,000 manuscripts. As we know, ancient manuscripts, autographs, and rare documents can be damaged by exposure to air and light. Preservation of library materials in general has two main elements, namely preservation in physical form and preservation of the value of information. Library media transfer is usually done on library materials that are of historical value, or library materials that have fragile physical conditions. According to IFLA, the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, all our libraries should share the guideline for the selection of digital heritage for long-term preservation and for allowing the greatest possible number of users in the world to access digitized materials. So the crucial point is the number of users, and this is the very relevant ethical aspect. Professional scholars and young researchers, and also vulnerable and disadvantaged subject people are not forced to come to Naples or Rome, for example, with enormous saving of money, time, and without access limits. The second aspect is to dematerialize in learning teaching as well as in administrative. In our sector, digital transformations have accelerated greatly due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And now the penetration of digitalization deserves further reflection, given some causes, consequences, and perspectives of this process. Until the challenges of the pandemic, distance, in-presence, or deferred teaching, our institution proceeded at two very distinct speeds. I consider the extreme cases. On one side, highly equipped hi-fi departments and courses. I mean electronic music, music for movies and video games. And on the other side, very traditional and lo-fi, we can say, departments, early music, baroque, and even classic music. After the pandemic crisis, both the processes of music performance and music writing creation are no longer close to the broader digitalization, and many students can create their own tracks and compositions, or their performance video, which require experience not only in the direct managing of a performance or composition, but also in arranging and digitally processing them. Current trends have shown the importance of moving away from previous paradigms of reproductive learning in favor of adopting a digitalized approach that emphasizes the creative capabilities of higher education students. This issue is also quite relevant because it allows us to determine how specific areas of music pedagogy in higher education have adapted to the current conditions in which the use of digital teaching learning method achieves the highest effectiveness. The evident advantages of digitalization and the performing art higher education are as follows. Digital resources of learning process provide opportunity for students to study according to individual lifelong curriculum at any time and place, and to provide them a learning tailored with selection of tools, forms, and method of teaching learning. When I say any time and any place, this concerns also inclusion as well as ecology, both ethical aspects. The data collected by the evaluation teams of Italian conservatories and their analysis of student opinions reveal that the lack of the necessary material resources for students from low-income families generates a disadvantage that can be filled by digitalization of our institutions themselves. We know how much economical affects gender as well. Just to share with you that in my experience as a teacher for 20 years at Santa Cecilia Conservatory, for years we have had an average 3 students from Iran, and they are all men. 2 of these graduated from the master's degree in music education, which is my department. One of them produced a podcast with some interviews, and he asked me what I would advise women in his country, where women themselves are forbidden to sing. He promised to share the podcast with interviews, music scores, and some lessons of mine he recorded. So we must agree that the only possibility for women in such political and economical situation to get info and music training is only through digitalization. Digitalization in its ethical aspect is one of the pillars of the European Union goals and the Erasmus Plus program too. As I am responsible for the Erasmus Plus at Santa Cecilia Conservatory for the last 7 years, I know that even if physical mobility remains an essential part of the Erasmus Plus, the educational aspect of the program can help encourage greener response by participants, because CO2 emissions are set to increase, according to the recent report by many research. At the moment, the most important is the EGG Erasmus Goes Green project, with almost 300,000 euros budget and 7 partners. Fortunately, 2 years ago, the European Community, through the Erasmus Plus agency, has been launched a new program called BIP, the acronym for Blended Intensive Program, consisting in both online lessons and live activities. Well, at Santa Cecilia, I have coordinated a BIP we named FARM, Fostering Artistic Research in Music, with the 3 partners: the Royal Irish Academy of Music in Dublin, the Hochschule für Musik und Tanz in Köln, and the Orpheus Institute in Ghent, which hosted the intensive week in presence. During their online lessons, students used the Orpheus Institute MOOC, Massive Open Online course, Artistic Research in Music and Introduction, a free online course available for everyone to enroll. As we know, teaching learning processes in performing arts require for an embodied knowledge, mostly summarized as a personal contact and closeness among participants. Digitalization of education eliminates excessive time consumptions so that students in distance learning system are able to rapidly study theoretical material as well as simulated rehearsals, to visit digital library, to learn score and audio records of studied music pieces, to obtain distance recommendation from teachers and colleagues, while saving time for practices. The third aspect, to improve creativity. Implementation of digital technologies affects not only innovation in equipment of learning process, development of educational software, website for learning purposes, methodological and didactic materials, including music education software, computer experiments with virtual models, especially concerning music for video games and movies. But it affects also modernization of a research trend required by academic. Moreover, digitalization offers integrated solution in higher music education to data processing of infrastructure, management, behavioral and cultural pattern, and this changes the paradigm of interaction between musician and audience too. The data collected by annual student surveys revealed that benefits of digitalization and digital technology are interactivity, didactic, speed of receiving information, appeal to pedagogical practices, economical organization of work, access to archives. But at the same time, student surveys revealed that the use of digital technology has a certain disadvantage. First of all, we are talking about the need for additional digital competencies in working with the programs and the digitalized environment, which should be paid special attention to, as well as certain programming skills required during the training. Digitalized environment allow students to choose their own ways to disseminate and share information to express their creative interest, and digital technology also allow one to distribute their performances and composition using proper application so that potential audiences can get and evaluate them accordingly. Techniques for the use of digital programs in higher education music training will evolve in the future toward a larger student audience and the possible collaborative creating teams. Let us consider that recent interfaces include huge tools. I think about Steinway grand piano playing simples and selected simples of performance playing by prominent musicians. For this reason, higher music education students have a unique opportunity to follow the performance of their score. It will sound as if it were performed by the leading performance of world music, as new softwares allow us to not only listen to, but also record our own track in several popular digital formats. Obviously, the digital instrumental music higher education of the future should integrate with such software solution, which will seriously improve the performing skills of students working through their results. Just think about LoLa, a low latency, high quality audio video transmission system for network musical performances and interaction. It has been developed by the Conservatory of Music Giuseppe Tartini in Trieste in collaboration with GAR, the Italian Research and Academic Network. LoLa project aims to enable real-time musical performances where musicians are physically located in remote sites. But LoLa provides also the ability to perform real concerts for the public with distributed performance and distributed audiences too. This that opens a new, fully unexplored performance scenario with new challenges and new opportunities. Thanks to an international Erasmus Plus project named RAPPLab, in which Santa Cecilia has been partnered for the last 3 years, now we have the GAR line at our conservatory. Therefore, higher music education institutions should invest more in digitalization, both in equipment and skilled staff at the same time, and should strengthen public-private partnerships as a way of increasing access to digitized services for music sector so that students can speed up their mindset acquiring all skills of teamwork and collective creation of new form of performance too, using digital elements, and can improve the newest frontier of the artistic research and really enhance our sector. Thank you so much for your attention.